Okay, welcome everybody to today's Saturday training. My name is Jeremy Jenkins. I'm super excited to be able to share with you today all about staking. Staking is the topic of the hour because we've got some amazing things going on with the Nodi blockchain and the idea of retro staking. And that is for this month, basically, it ends in 2 weeks on November 30th. We're going to have the opportunity to do retro staking ends and the staking rewards will start to pay out. So a lot of people have been asking about this, right? And trying to understand what is staking? Is it to my advantage? Why? Why do we do staking? All those different things. And what should I do? So I put together fun training today that's going to go into the details of it, but in a simple way that I think everybody is going to really pick up on and be able to understand. I've tried to simplify it and make it, like I said in my message, as simple as so that a 10-year-old can understand what this is all about. So let's just go ahead and dive right in because this is exciting. And unless, I don't know, Steve, did you have any announcements? Did you want to say anything before we get started?
No, I apologize, Jeremy. I was on early, but it kicked me out. It said it had a time limit to rejoin, so I had to rejoin. So I apologize. I am so looking forward to your training this morning because we all got good decisions to come up with by the end of the month. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, my friend, for asking. Just to the leadership group, not to forget that there's a Tuesday call. Okay.
Awesome. Okay, sounds good. Yeah, we can expect some good announcements as Bob hinted at and Craig hinted at on the last call that this next week there's going to be some cool stuff. I think maybe a swag store is going to get announced, or we'll see. But really cool things getting ready. And as Bob likes to say, it's coming. It's coming. So we'll trust him on that. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into staking. Cirrus Networks. So, of course, we got to start out with a disclaimer. Everything we talk about here is not financial advice. It's not about investment. It's not about, hey, set it and forget it. And, we're going to handle your money for you and promise return on your investment, all that stuff. Nothing like that. Everything we talk about here is based on potentials and the idea of earning commissions and all those things, right? It's based on one's own effort and talent and all those things, but there are no guarantees, okay? No guarantees. We're just presenting some options here to you, and you can study it and learn from it and make your own decisions. All right, so let's dive right into this. Of course, let's reiterate for those that might be seeing this for the first time, what is blockchain in the first place, okay? Well, it's a decentralized distributed ledger, right? What does that mean? There's transactions and records and all kinds of things that get put into ledgers, right, digitally. And this is just a decentralized one, right? It means that when transactions happen, there's a whole bunch of computers all across the world that keep a record of that transaction. Okay, and that is the chain. When we talk about blocks and we talk about chains, each block just has a whole bunch of transactional data in it. Okay, and it keeps it in a ledger. Of course, it's all secure and encrypted and all that kind of stuff. Nobody's seeing anybody's private information or private, financial stuff or any of that. But it is publicly accessible in the sense that you can see who has been doing what, right? Maybe there's a third party that's saving stuff to the blockchain, and that can be seen. Okay, so you can see that different transactions are happening, even though the private stuff is kept encrypted. So it's immutable. It's it can't be changed once it's recorded. There's transparency, but security, and there's trust, because what happens is the whole idea behind this is that you don't have one single entity or person that could potentially go in and make a change, cook the books, right? All that. No, because all of us, everybody that has a node, everybody that participates in this, keeps their own record, right? So your computer and my computer and everybody else's computer all has the same copy of the ledger. And so if somebody tried to change it, all the rest of them would compare and go, nope, you're the one that's wrong. All the rest of us are in agreement, right? And so that's why it eliminates the need for intermediaries, and you can trust it. You can know that it's the true information, because not one single person or group could go in and make the change, right? So it eliminates corruption, in other words. So lots and lots of benefits and value in blockchain, and that's why there's some resistance to it, right? We have to understand that there are some groups that don't like that, right? They want to be able to go in and make changes and stuff, and now that they're not going to be able to, and so they're fighting it. Maybe there's some resistance, right? But in the end, it's so powerful and so amazing that that's the way the world is going, and so that's why we see government and legislation that's going this direction. And so the powers that be are happen to basically just say, okay, it's happening with us or without us, so we might as well, instead of fight against it, we might as well adopt it. So it's going to happen, right? And we are at the forefront of all of that, and it's going to be used for everything from cryptocurrency to supply chain to identity, and so much more. Blockchain, it really has so many applications across all the different aspects of life, from finance to healthcare to supply chain. It really provides transparency and security and streamlines a whole bunch of processes. Okay, so huge benefit there. Really, really cool. And we, as I said, are at the beginning of all this, and we get to take advantage of it. Why is it the future? Because it really does secure and make everything transparent. It reduces cost by eliminating middlemen. Okay, it's faster. It has smart contracts, which allow for automation. Okay, it allows for traceability, and it really truly is growing and being adopted by everybody, from banks to governments to Fortune 500 companies. All right. So how does it work? Well, there's different ways to do a blockchain. Okay. The very first one was Bitcoin. We're all familiar with Bitcoin. We all heard of Bitcoin. And that's a proof of work model, where you have a computer that's trying to solve puzzles, right? And being the first one to solve the puzzle means that you get the transaction and you get the reward. But the problem with it is that as it's grown, it's become very energy intensive. It's very secure, for sure, for that reason, right? But it's also very energy intensive. And so, the little guy can't play anymore, right? It's really only big institutions and governments and others that are still playing in the Bitcoin mining process, because it's just the electricity that it requires. Everything is so expensive, and your return on your for your mining and what it costs to do electricity, you just got to be able to get cheap electricity to be able to do it. Okay? So that's kind of been replaced, and the new way of doing it is what's called proof of stake. Okay, so Ethereum was born, and it changed everything, because instead of doing proof of work, they did what is called validation through staked tokens. Now, this is so much more energy efficient and scalable. Okay, and it basically means more people can play in that space, because they don't have to have a supercomputer. They don't have to spend tons of money on electricity and put computers in server farms and all that kind of stuff. It really opened it up and made it more available to way more people. Okay, and so Ethereum and its different projects they're growing, and they're dominating, and it's been great for them. The next iteration of that was called delegated proof of stake. Okay, and that's what Nodi is. It's a delegated proof of stake, because now what happens is, instead of doing basically just having validators based on stake tokens, you now have token holders who can vote. Right? We have a vote for trusted delegates. So you have what's called a DAO, and it allows us to now go in and vote for those that are custodians, right? And that they're the ones that take care of everything. And we have a community. We actually have a community with a voice, and we can vote on things and participate, and it's great. And then there are other ones out there like XRP. They've got their own proprietary consensus protocols, and the difference with them is that they issued all their tokens right at the beginning, way back when in 2012, and they use trusted validators and so on. But the kind of the go-to right now is the delegated proof of stake. That's kind of the latest and greatest in blockchain, and that's what we have with Noti. Okay, so now that that's been said, there it goes. Okay, the other thing that's super important is to know that you got to have deflationary mechanisms. Okay, so we talk about these tokens, and did I skip one? Okay, yeah, deflationary mechanism. So what gives a token its value is the simple supply and demand combined with utility, right? And so when we talk about inflation, inflation has been silently robbing us of our purchasing power since 1913, right? It's just the dollar keeps going down in value because of inflation. Why? Because they keep printing more dollars, right? Why is gold valuable? Because it's scarce and it's useful. Those two things, right? There's utility. It's scarce and there's utility in it. People want it because it's beautiful, it's used in jewelry, and because it's useful for electronics and computer chips and all that kind of stuff. So the US dollar and other fiat type currencies are inflationary because the supply is not limited. So central banks can go out and print more money whenever they feel it's needed, thus adding more supply. And that, of course, results in less value as the demand goes down. Okay, so crypto tokens, on the other hand, are deflationary. This is because they have a fixed supply, right? And so they decrease the rate of issuance, and some blockchains actually burn the tokens. Okay, so like XRP, that's what they do, is their tokens, they started out with a whole bunch. Okay, in fact, XRP had 100 billion that were released all at once way back in 2012. And they don't do it just like little by little, right? Like Bitcoin and Ethereum and Noti. No, they launched all their tokens at once, and now they've been slowly burning them over time. Well, what Bitcoin did was they said we're going to only ever have 21 million ever. You can never have more. They can never go reprint out more Bitcoins, right? That doesn't work. And Noti did the same thing. Okay, Ethereum did the same thing. Noti has 35 billion, XRP had 100 billion. And that's all that will ever exist. So over time, with more use, more utility, the value is going to go up, right? Because they become more and more scarce and because they become more and more useful, just like gold. Okay. So that is what we're looking for. We want deflation, right? We want to protect our assets. We want to protect our hard-earned money by putting it into something that will increase in value, not decrease in value. So even though cash is great for liquidity and moving money around, it's not a great place to keep your money if you want it to grow or at least maintain, right? So that's the beauty of the whole crypto and blockchain mechanism, is that it is deflationary and therefore it retains its value and potentially increases in value. All right. So the other important thing to know is that, like I mentioned, Noti blockchain is the best of the best. It's the latest and greatest in blockchain because it's not only just based on a proof of stake mechanism, but it's also combined with something called Cosmos SDK with an Oracle-enabled proof of stake consensus. Right now, this is all techno mumbo jumbo, right? And it's hard to understand, but I'm going to simplify it for you here in just a minute. Okay, so what that means is there's a new standard. The ISO is the International Standards Organization, and they create all the standards for all the different things, right? For measurements and and just standard operability for connectivity, like USB drives and technology, how things talk to each other. That's what ISO is. It's the standard that the world can trust. They go, oh, that's ISO. Okay, that's the standard. That's how we're going to build our stuff to match with that so that we can talk to each other and be compatible, right? And so the ISO 222 interoperability means that This is how banks and other financial institutions can now talk to each other and transfer money back and forth, right? And it's replacing the old SWIFT programs and other things that banks have been using for decades. Okay? So it is the future. It just went live this year and it's ready for institutional integration. And so, of course, Noti is designed for that, right? Even though blockchains don't get certified on ISO, but it's compatible and it can play in that space. Okay, so what is delegated proof of stake? So here's where we're going to kind of simplify what this is all about. So think about a playground, right? So maybe a giant digital playground where kids can come in and they're trading baseball cards, right? I remember when I was a kid, I used to collect baseball cards and, just with my friends, right, in elementary school and stuff. So to keep the playground fair, someone has to check every trade and make sure that no one is cheating, right? So in a traditional scenario, you might have a teacher or a principal or somebody, right, that's checking on the trades and making sure that nobody's cheating, that things are being done right. But in a proof of stake, what happens is instead of teachers checking the trades, there are certain kids who promise to follow the rules and they will lock one of their own cards in a safe. Okay. That's kind of hey, we're going to take one of your cards, we're going to put it in the safe. And if we catch you cheating, if you do anything bad, you forfeit that card, right? So there's incentive for the kid to say, oh, I'm not going to cheat. I'm going to make sure that everybody's playing fair, right? And everything. Because if I ever do cheat, that card I put away in the safe is gone. I lose it, right? They're going to take it away from me, okay? But so now that they're trusted because they put some of that student put that card in the safe, they now can go and help make sure all the other kids that are trading cards are doing it in the right way. And there's no cheating happening. So because they are trusted helpers, the playground gives them extra cards as rewards, right? So basically, it's like if you want to help run the playground and keep it safe, you're going to lock in one of your cards and we're going to reward you with more cards for doing that, right? Uses very little energy and a lot of kids can help all at once. So it makes it so you can delegate, right? It's not just one teacher or leader that's doing it. Now all of them can participate because there's incentive to not cheat because they've staked their card. Okay. All right. So what is staking? It's basically just this: putting your card into the safe so you can help run the playground and earn more cards. You don't lose your card. You're just putting it somewhere safe temporarily so that you can earn rewards. All right. So what does Oracle-enabled Cosmos mean? Well, think about not just one playground, but hundreds of playgrounds, right? So each playground now has its own rules, and they maybe have different games and different cards. Maybe they're trading, Cabbage Patch cards instead of, baseball cards. Right? If you guys remember Garbage Pail Kid cards, we had those, and back in the 80s. But they can all talk to each other and trade safely, right? Maybe we should do Pokemon cards, right? That's the kind of the latest one. So Pokemon cards. So other playgrounds use Pokemon cards or whatever it is, right? But they can all say, oh, I'm going to trade one Pokemon card for one baseball card. Right? They can talk to each other, right? That's what Cosmos is. Cosmos is like a giant mall of playgrounds where every playground can now be built fast because an SDK is a kit, right? That's what it means. It's like a standard set where somebody can just grab it and start building based on that. So it's faster, it runs more smoothly, and it can talk to other playgrounds back and forth more easily because Cosmos uses the Cosmos SDK, which is like a pre-built playground kit. Other builders don't have to start from scratch, right? They can just come right in and go, oh, okay, I want to do this. And I've got the platform ready to go. I can just kind of like a template in a way, right? They can just come in and go and they don't have to build it from the ground up. It's ready to be built upon, okay? So that's cool because now we have lots more people participating, which is great. Then there's something called an oracle, okay? So imagine that the playground sometimes needs information from the outside. So Maybe they want to know, oh, what's the score of a real baseball game, right? I want to know, oh, how's this player doing, right? What's his stats? Okay, maybe this card is more valuable because of what's happening in real time. Well, or maybe just what's the weather, right? Is it going to rain today? Is that game going to get rained out? They're not going to be able to play, or even just as simple as who won the spelling bee, right? So kids inside the playground, they don't necessarily know all these real world answers. So the playground hires a helper called an oracle, which is a special messenger who brings those that real world information into the playground safely. So the oracle is kind of like a kid who checks the actual scoreboard at the baseball field and then brings the result back to the playground, right? So all the kids know, okay, so the Dodgers are winning, right? Or the Yankees are winning, whoever. So really, really cool. So then what is an oracle proof of stake, right? Like this is where it gets really cool. So in a traditional regular proof of stake type of scenario, kids are only getting paid for checking their trades, right? They stake one of their cards. Now they're getting rewarded with other cards for checking and making sure trades are happening fairly. But in an oracle proof of stake, like on Noti, kids also get paid for bringing useful information from the outside world. So instead of earning just from one job, they get to earn from two jobs. Job one is checking the trades and getting rewards. And number two is bringing real world info will also get rewards. So it's like being a referee and a messenger at the same time. So we're kind of double dipping. Okay, that's what that means. So why is this the most lucrative? Why is this the latest and greatest in blockchain? And why is Noti kind of the only one really taking advantage of this? Well, reason number one, you get paid twice, right? Because most playgrounds only pay helpers for checking the trades. But with Cosmos SDK and the Oracle proof of stake, you're now getting paid for checking the trades and for bringing information so you earn more. Okay. In other words, this Cosmos SDK and the Oracle stuff, these are the Oracle apps, right? So when we talk about Meeting, we talk about the Cirrus Safe, we talk about travel, we talk about all the different apps, right? All the different products and services that we bring in. That's bringing in the outside information. Okay, that's what we're talking about here. So reason number two is you can build new playgrounds quickly. So Cosmos lets anyone build their own playground with very little effort. With more playgrounds, you get more games, you get more helpers, and you get more rewards. Okay, in other words, it means more SaaS products, right? That's what that means. All playgrounds talk to each other now. Reason number three, right? It's safer and it's easier to trade between the playgrounds. So more kids are using them, which means more rewards for the helpers, for all of us that are, have nodes and are staking. And of course, reason number four, it grows fast when lots of people use it. Right? The more people who join the playground, the more valuable the whole system becomes. And then the fifth reason is the Oracle rewards are real world valuable because oracles help real businesses, SaaS products, right? The rewards they produce are tied to data, to markets, to real transactions, to real usage, which makes the rewards more stable and useful, right? You think about it, if you make a comparison, what is the utility of a Bitcoin other than just store of value, other than just being able to send money to somebody really quickly, right? Relatively quickly without having to wait for the bank to approve it and all that. So there's some utility to it. Absolutely, right? There's a reason Bitcoin's number one and that it has gone up so much in value is because it's a cool mechanism that's decentralized. So yeah, I'm not saying it doesn't have any utility, but I'm saying it only has basically one utility, right? And that is it. Store value and transferring that value back and forth without an intermediary, which is cool, but Bitcoin can't do what we're doing, right? Bitcoin can't bring on SaaS products. Bitcoin can't bring on any kind of products and services. Not at all. Not at all. Okay. And other types of tokenization products or projects out there, what do? They can bring on they can tokenize maybe real estate, or they can maybe tokenize certain projects like big, carbon credit kinds of things, or, just giant stuff, transactional stuff that's out there, which is good and it's fine. And there's value in that, but it's not day to day, right? There's not, and it doesn't bring it down to the gamification level that we have with Noti, where you can literally gamify all kinds of things, like just literally hosting this meeting today here in this conference room. I can earn rewards for my activity, right? Like, so me as an individual doing something, participating or paying for my subscription now contributes to the overall project, other than just buying a node and hoping, praying that, there's some utility on the back end happening, right? I get to play in the utility. I get to bring people to the table. I get to share products and services with people that bring more utility and more transactions. It's really, really cool. Okay. That's what we have. All right. So let's talk about staking now. Is it a good idea? Why should I do it? Okay. So here's the cool thing. When a new proof of stake network like Noti, built on Cosmos SDK and Oracle enabled proof of stake, has just launched, here is the strategy. This is just strategy right here. So the rewards are highest early on. Okay. So early networks, they have fewer stakers, right? Like right now, there's not a whole lot of us. There's a bunch, right? But we're still super early. Not a lot of people have jumped on board with us yet. So the rewards are distributed across a smaller group, right? And that means you're receiving a larger percentage of those emissions. And as more and more people join, the APR, right, it's going to drop significantly. For example, other blockchains that are built on the Cosmos idea have seen this happen, right? So Atom was early and its APR was 20 to 30%, but now it's dropped to around 14%. Osmo, same thing. It was about 200%, and it's dropped down to 14 to 18%. Juno was around 150%, and it's dropped down to 40%. So early stakers capture the wealth creation window. There is a window, and we get to be part of that right now. Okay. So other consideration, we're not listed on an exchange yet. Noti tokens are not trading yet on an exchange. So there's no reason to hold liquid tokens. You can't trade them yet. You can't monetize them yet. Okay. So because the token isn't trading, you can't sell it, you can't arbitrage it, you can't use it for DeFi, nothing. Right. So liquid supply has no immediate utility right now. While staking it earns yield. So staking 100% maximizes your token accumulation, your compounding, your validator rewards, and your share of future governance power, because we're a proof of stake that's based on voting now, right? So the more you have, the more voting power you have, right? So that's important. So really critical at this point. There's a window that we want to take advantage of. And again, Cosmos SDK chains are designed for high early staking. So they generally distribute rewards daily, right? Which is true. A lot of the other blockchains out there, including Ethereum, they don't pay daily, right? They pay every certain amount of blocks that get set on the blockchain and stuff. But we actually have daily payout of rewards, which is great. So it compounds more efficiently, okay? And it gives governance weight based on stake. So the more you have staked, the more vote power you have. And sometimes there's some that do airdrops or other incentives to early stakers, right? And we're going to see that here in just a second with this idea of retro staking with Noti. So early staking equals more than just yield. It gives positioning in the ecosystem, right? So I do have to say this, though. There are some important risks to take into consideration. Staking 100% can be smart, but only if you understand. Okay, make sure you understand this. Number one is that you are locking up those tokens. Okay, so typically on a Cosmos SDK chain like Noti, It's a 14 to 21 day unbonding period. Okay, with Noti, I believe it's 21 days. So that means that you're not going to be able to access your tokens for about 3 weeks after hitting unstake, right? You go in your wallet, you hit unstake. It's going to take about 3 weeks for that to unstake and become liquid again. So if you think you might need liquidity, don't stake 100%, right? But again, like I mentioned, we're at this point where not much going on with exchanges or anything like that. So, and then the other thing too is that there is a risk that if you delegate to a validator who does something wrong, right? They double sign, they go offline, they misbehave, whatever, right? They're one of those kids that put their money in the vault or their card in the vault, and then they cheated, and so they forfeit that card. There is a chance you could lose a small percentage. You don't lose your actual tokens, but you could lose the rewards that come from staking if they cheat. Okay, so as long as you pick a reputable validator, the risk is minimal. Okay, and we're so early on right now. I don't know that the few that we have that are validators, I'm pretty sure we can trust them. Right, can't guarantee that, but the risk is minimal. Okay, so. But as long as you take those two things into consideration, my balanced recommendation, and this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a licensed financial person, but this is just kind of my recommendation based on what we've just talked about today. If you don't need liquidity, staking 100% early on is usually the most lucrative strategy. Okay? You're going to maximize your early APR, your compounding, your validator rewards, your governance weight, and you're going to capture that earliest emission era. And this is the exact same strategy that early adopters used with all the other Cosmos-based proof of stake type blockchains like Atom, Osmo, Juno, Seer, and others. Okay, so that being said, let's not miss out on the opportunity to participate in all the staking rewards starting from when you first got a node. Retro staking, what does this mean? Basically, what they're saying is there are some of us that got nodes, way back in May, others, throughout the following months in June, July, whatever, and we didn't have a way to stake back then, right? That wasn't an option. And so they recognized that and they said, hey, you know what? We're going to make it as if you had staked from the very beginning. So all the rewards that you're earning right now, you can actually go and stake them, and it will backdate as if you had staked them from the very beginning when you first bought the node. So if you got a node in May and you started earning rewards, and if you had the option, right, to stake those back then and start earning on those from back in May, that's what they're saying. Right, is they're saying, hey, anything that you put in from now up until November 30th will be backdated. It'll be retroed so that as if it had been in the staking, earning those, the staking benefits of putting your card in the safe, right, all the way back from the beginning. That's what that means. And it's like retro. So whenever you bought your first node, that's when it's going to count. So really, really cool. If you bought one in August, then it'll start from August, right? If you bought one in September, it'll start from September. So whatever that is. So those rewards, they get to go back and be backdated and start earning those staking rewards. Because if you notice, we haven't been paid anything on staking yet. Nothing. Right? For those of us that have already gone in and staked something, you're not seeing it yet. Why? Because they're waiting. They're waiting for this, right? Waiting till November 30th so that once that's done, everybody had a chance to go in and stake how much they want, right? Then it'll start to calculate and it will backdate it all and we'll get those extra rewards from the retro staking. So my friends, that is the benefit we have. We got basically 2 weeks to go in. If you don't have a node yet, get one. And what's really cool is the benefit is even micro nodes count. So even if you have just a subscription to Cirrus Safe, even if you have a subscription to the Meetin product, doesn't matter. Any rewards that you've been getting, even from micro nodes, you can actually go in and stake them. Okay, so that is the fun part about this. really, really cool. And I can't wait to see what those rewards end up being on December 1st. All right, so that was the training for today. Hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully it makes it a little bit more clear what we got. I know it's still a little complicated, but hopefully that analogy of the playground made it kind of like, okay, I can start to really grasp this idea and explain it to other people, and we'll continue to train on this kind of stuff. So, all right. So with that, I don't know. Do we have time for questions, or should we just call it a day? I guess you could say if you have any questions, message me afterwards. Unless you got something pending. Anybody got something super pending right now?
I've got one,
Nope.
Jeremy.
Yeah. Okay. Karen, go ahead.
So in order to stake something, you first have to transfer from where you're accruing rewards into your wallet, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
then
kind
you
of
can
kind of
stake
two
it.
stages, right? Yeah. So the first one is though they're ready to be issued, right? So you say, yep, issue them. Then they become tokens. Then once they're tokens, then you can actually go over to the staking and say, okay, well now put those into the stake. So yeah. So but as you're getting rewards, and some clarity on that too. There's a reason, the mechanism of why they stay as rewards until you decide to issue them, and that's for tax purposes. Okay, so Craig explained to us that the whole idea is once you transfer a reward into a token, that is the moment that it becomes a taxable event, right? And so for a lot of people, they just want to hold the rewards, right? They just want to hold the rewards, and then when they're ready, they're, oh, you know what? I want to now go ahead and convert them into a token. Oh, boom, the token is worth so much, whatever, at that moment in time. And so now you had an earning, right? You had income of whatever that value is at that timestamp. And so that's what then you have to report on your taxes and whatever. So they did that by design so that you can pick and choose when you want to convert rewards into a token for tax purposes. But then once they are converted into tokens, now they have that, eventually they'll have that monetary value. And once they're a token, that's when you can freely trade them between people. You can, once we're on an exchange, you can cash them out, spend them, or you can stake them, right? So yes, two steps. First, convert from or issue them into a token. And then step two is once they are tokens, now I can go in and say stake, and you say how much you want to stake, choose your validator, put your password in, and submit.
And then, so if you transfer and you're doing, 100% of what you currently have, anything in the future would just go from the date that you transfer and stake forward.
Correct.
It's not an automatic continuing whatever you generate,
Right.
just
Right. Yeah.
automatically
Yeah.
because
We
it's a
don't have
conscious thing.
automated restaking and all that. That I think they might. Other blockchains do have that. That's a good question, actually, because there are some that have that as it's an option that you can configure where as rewards get paid out, you can auto stake them, right? So I haven't seen that here at Nodi yet. That might be something they're still programming or developing or whatever. But yes, that is an option on other blockchains in the same category. And so it might be a recommendation. We could say, hey, are you guys going to get this? Because I think that would be cool too, right? Be able to just say automatically, as soon as I get my tokens paid, to automatically stake them on a certain validator. Yeah, I think some people might want to be able to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
I was just going to say, great training, Jeremy. And it was such a great training that Gordon and I are going to do staking volume 2. No, we're not. We're just teasing. We're glad you're here to help us understand this, brother, and appreciate your input.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Gordon, I saw you came on. Did you want to say something too? Or are you good?
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Jeremy. You did a great job. We're trying to, Steve and I and the company are really working right now to try to make things very simple for everybody to sign into the business, to then, do their one click and then do their wallet. And then, of course, stake, if they want to stake. And we have to make it all very, very simple, because I'm sure there are a lot of people even that are here tonight or today that haven't said anything, but they're saying, okay, now I got to go figure out how to stake. So now they got to go back in and they got, you know, when you make one mistake, you go back. So we just need to make it really simple. And I think we as a leadership group should probably have scheduled, you know, how to do the all of these techniques, how to get into your wallet, how to create your wallet, how to stake, you know, how to do the one-click hosting. And I think we're going to need, as a leadership group, to step up and maybe have ongoing weekly places where all the people, because we're going to have, when we get these products coming in, we could have hundreds and hundreds of people coming in quickly. Those people are going to be confused. They're going to want to know what to do. So we as a leadership group have got to have a system where they can be just jumping on every few days or every week. They can jump somewhere and find out, okay, this is how I host. This is how I do my wallet. This is how I stake. So as a leadership group, just be thinking about how we're going to do that, or how you would suggest that we should do that, and make sure that everybody has you know, we can rely on the company a little bit, but I think we as our organization has got to be able to do it on our own. So anyway, be thinking about that, Jeremy, because you're the guy, you're the trainer, you're the expert here. You know how to make things simple. And Don Braden, I noticed, is on. Don is also really good at what you guys do and how you do it. And he knows everything about how to do everything. And I'm sure you do too, Jeremy, by far. So anyway, just give that some thought, everybody. And it's been a great training. And thank you so much. And Steve, thanks for everything, for all you're doing, all you've done.
All right. Thanks, Gordon. Okay. Yep. So that being said, yes, we will. We'll figure out if we do like some lunch and learns, or some evening trainings or whatever. Yeah. But individually, for those that are on here, if you haven't staked yet, get with your leader, get with whoever, and let's get you going so that you know how to do it, so you can train other people as well, right? We'll always be available. We'll do some tutorials and whatnot. But yeah, if you're interested in staking, get with us this week. Let's get you staked so that you know kind of how it works and what it's like. Okay. All right. Well, have an awesome Saturday, everybody.
Love you guys.
See you next week. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks, Jeremy.
That was easy.